Okay, welcome once again to Taking It to the Nub. This is episode 16 with Casa Cuevas and Luis Cuevas Jr. Today, if you guys don't know Luis, and I've known him now for a good 4 years or so, we're going to get into some of our history. Luis is not only an amazing cigar manufacturer and what he's done for the industry, but a generation upon generation upon generation of cigar blood. So I'm going to bring Luis in. And Luis, how are you today?
I am great, Jimmy. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. How's Miami, Florida doing?
Hotter than it should be. More humid than it normally is, which is strange, but beautiful. It's home, and glad to be here. Glad to be here.
A lot of Sahara dust over you?
You know, we're getting it. You get that haze, and it's fascinating. I was watching some documentary today, and we get the haze and the heat, and a lot of animals eat during the course of this sandstorm, so to speak, as it crosses the ocean. So it serves its purpose nature-wise. So, hey, I welcome it. But yeah, it's here, man. It's here.
Good.
It's here.
Good. How's your beautiful wife doing?
She's great. She's actually inside fixing up dinner. We have some guests and some friends coming over tonight. And even though we're trying to social distance ourselves to some degree, we still got to get together once in a while. So anyway, she's doing her thing.
I just finished a big chicken caprese that she
nice
tonight. So
nice. Very well done.
She feeds me well. What are you smoking tonight?
Believe it or not, a mandaria, but this is a shortened version of it. So my dad had brought some bundles of these during COVID nonsense time, and we had chopped off about an inch. So essentially the part where the binder is exposed, the shaggy foot, has been cut off. So it's an unbanded mandaria, and that's what I'm smoking. That's what I'm smoking right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm smoking something that should be near and dear to your heart. Take you back a few years. Might not have known I had these, but a swinger back.
Oh my God, my friend. Wow.
The Habano.
Wow. That is a throwback. Wow, what a blast from the past. How cool is that?
Now you remember who you made this one for.
Mr. Ryan Gallimore, the short guy himself. Yeah, little man.
Yeah, they call him little LRG now at the state. Little Ryan Gallimore.
I love that misnomer. That's phenomenal.
He is. He's amazing. I remember that trip like it was yesterday. It was we went down there. Ryan invited me to come down because he was working on some new blends at the time besides these.
Yeah.
And we were bringing one of my local shop owners to come down to make a house cigar. If you recall, he was having a house blend made.
I do.
So the three of us flew down. I was never in the Dominican. It was my first time ever going to a cigar factory. Okay, other than maybe I saw some stuff in Key West, but I mean real legit whole operation. And I was so impressed when I walked in and saw what was going on. I was like a kid in a candy store.
I believe the gentleman that came down with you was Jimmie.
It was Jimmie, yes. Jimmie's from Jimmie's Cigar Lounge, no relationship.
Jimmie, yeah. He's a phenomenal guy. Yeah, I remember that trip very well. And we did have a really good time, but wow, it's been a spell. It's been a minute.
It was about 4 years ago. It was before we did. Right after that, Ryan and I and some others got together and put on Save the Leaf, if you recall. Right, that little event we did in D.C.
I do.
So Ryan and we bonded real well. But yeah, back 9, and it's still smoking good. This is 4 years old.
That's amazing. That's really cool that you have that, man. That's really cool. I actually envy that. I wish I had my hands on some of those right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to hit you up after the show's over, or ask Ryan if he has. I'm sure Ryan has some.
I got a few more.
That is so cool.
All
That
right.
is so cool.
And as part of, one of the things I want to talk briefly before we get too deep into the show is we're going to have some amazing giveaways that we're going to be talking about tonight. One of them is going to be, I'm going to throw in some of these back nines and front nines as part of
Oh wow, that's really cool.
So somebody's going to get some vintage Casa Cuevas creations.
That's very, very cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
We're also gonna. I also want to just announce, because they were so kind enough to send me some things to give out. So we're gonna be handing out some Whiff Out, and Whiff Out is an amazing deodorizer, little powder, totally non-toxic. You put it in your ashtrays, or you sprinkle it on your carpet like I do, and not a lot needed, and it just brings out some beautiful aromas. They sent me the classic, the vintage, and the rustic, and
Very neat.
one has a slightly different aroma. So we'll be doing these as part of the prizes when we spin the wheel next Saturday, when we push this show out on YouTube.
Very cool.
So 4 generations to you, 5 generations now to your son Alec.
Correct.
Man, that's a long run, and you've seen the whole everything. Your family has seen the cigar industry over all these generations. What's that conversation like at the dinner table or at Thanksgiving? Or
You know what? It was a lot. It was a lot different, I think, when my grandfather came from Cuba and I wasn't in it, and my dad had been removed from it. Right. So my dad comes here from Cuba. My grandfather eventually arrives as well. By then, everything had been confiscated by Fidel for quite a bit of time. And it never arose to the point where I think I would have liked it to have been. So I get a lot of hearsay from my dad, from my uncles, and from my aunts, even on my dad's side, my aunts on that part of the family. It would have been really cool to have been at this position now, or even Alex's position, because I was Alex's age and my grandfather was still alive, and have talked to him about what it was like back then. I never had that conversation. When the boom hit and the 80s hit, I was there. I wasn't as involved. The boom hit in the 90s, as you guys know, but I was already in the 80s. I was already there in the DR as a very, very young man. And I remember that evolution. I also remember, which maybe is not where I should be going with this, but I remember in the 90s when the boom was hitting, that a lot of crappy cigars were being made, and every single one of them was being sold. So I always like to say, as I fast forward in this conversation, and we do have talks about this, that this is the best time to be a cigar smoker. I mean, I think you're getting the very best of everyone out there. Everyone's trying their utmost to provide the very best product. Consumers are not idiots. Consumers know what they're spending their hard-earned cash on, and everyone, and I'm talking about my fellow, they're not competitors, my friends in the industry, they're trying their hardest to give you as a consumer their very best product. You may like it, you may not like it. That's a different story, right? That has nothing to do with it. I don't like Lafroig. I don't like Lafroig. It's too peaty for me. It still doesn't make it a bad scotch. It's a very expensive scotch that I don't like. Different story from a bad scotch. Same with these cigars. I think everybody's trying their best to do just the greatest product they can come out with and satisfy whatever palates they can. So if you're a cigar smoker, wow, this is the time to watch TV. We got Netflix, and you got Amazon Prime on, and you've got great cable shows. So the same thing for so,
So you're in there just as the boom is going through. You're young. You're down in Dominican. You're in the factory. You're one of the few factories that was starting to make. You didn't make your own cigars. You didn't have a Casa Cuevas brand until only a couple of years ago.
Until 3 years ago, my friend. Yeah.
So when people look at some of these boutique, quote unquote, cigars, these brand owner cigars that were going on shelves back in the 80s and then the boom in the 90s, some of them were coming out of your factory.
And some of them weren't so boutique, right? So Carlos Tarano, the original Taranos were made by us. And I got to give credit too. It was Carlos Tarano Sr.'s blends, but they were made by us. Peterson of Dublin, Dunhill. Who am I missing here? La Perla Habana, which was a phenomenal stick. I'm not taking anything away from CI now that they have it. But when Doug Wood made it out of California, that was just a terrific.
You were making Villiger too, right?
Villiger as well. For a while, Henry Villiger was there. I actually met him. Who else am I missing? I'm missing so many at this point.
What was up with the small guy? You work with Sam Lucia too, didn't Sam? Like,
oh my gosh, yeah, that was boom. But Sam Lucia came in and he worked on the black with us. Actually, he worked on two.
Black and the white, right?
Yes, the black. The white wasn't us. The white was a factory in Nicaragua.
Okay.
But we did the black, and before that, he had done one, and he ran into some legal issues, so that was set aside, and then the black was born. And the black's a cool story if you have time for it. So we're blending away, and we go with Sam to a cigar purveyor, meaning tobacco purveyor. They don't produce; they just essentially sell raw tobacco, and it's like Costco for tobacco. It's an enormous place, just warehouse after warehouse after warehouse of just anything you can ask for. So Sam, tongue-in-cheek, says, if you guys have everything, do you have Italian tobacco? Because Italian ancestry from Sam. The guy says yes. Not the owner. This is a gentleman who's helping us out. And he brings out this tobacco that smells like barbecue, pure barbecue.
Wow.
These big leaves, and they smell like barbecue. And he insists it's Italian. So we go back, we start working on it. Turns out that's Kentucky Fire Cure, right? But Italian cigarette makers were buying it. And so this gentleman, who again was not the owner, he's simply an employee, associated the Italian cigarette makers with the Italians owning or the tobacco being Italian. So I had made that mistake, and that's the way we came out with the black. It was that Kentucky Fire Cured, which smelled so much like barbecue, and that's the way that was born. So it was an accident almost to some degree, and it's very, very cool that worked out that way. Yeah.
So when you go back to Lucia, let me just pop something up. I think this is what, because there are some people that may know, but the debut.
That's the one I had mentioned earlier. The debut.
This is the one that nobody has.
Oh my God, you got a picture of that too, my friend. Wow.
I actually reviewed this cigar on Stogie Press.
Wow.
And I called it the #1 cigar that never existed. This was an absolutely amazing blend that you did on this.
And thank you very much. And part of it was the legal ramifications that these roadblocks that Sam ran into. And let's not get into that. But believe it or not, that cigar, the binder that was used, didn't hold press really easily. So what would happen was that the rollers at the factory, remember this vividly, the rollers at the factory had a tremendous amount of time to wait for the cigars to catch press before they wrapped it. So because they're getting paid by the piece, it became essentially not a good product for them to make because they wanted more money, and rightly so. So in the end, it all worked out. Now, we were all prepared to go ahead and compensate them accordingly. It just never panned out. But that binder, and I forget it, you know what, you and I'm going to reach out to you personally tomorrow, and you can tell your viewers what that binder was. I don't remember, so I don't want to sit there and speculate, but I do remember it just would not hold press. And as a result, if you would take it out of press on the commensurate time that you do with a regular cigar, it would sit there and pop up, and it would go from a 50 to a 51 or 52. Wow. And that's not the case, right? It's supposed to be a 50. It's supposed to fit in a box by a 50. So that became an issue. But the blend was amazing. The blend was amazing. And that's so cool that you had that picture.
It's such an old review, and it's on.
Nick was here, by the way, my better half. There she is.
Hey!
How are you?
He was asking.
You cooking dinner for us?
Yeah, I finally got a little time out, so I'm going to sit out here and listen to the interview.
All right.
Oh, pull up a chair, young lady.
No, I'm good.
Make yourself at home.
Oh, thanks. Enjoy, enjoy. It's good seeing you.
Good. Yes, absolutely. We'll have to get together when all of this madness ends.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, we do.
So you did all of these. You did these big brands. You did these little brands, and boom, you maintained a lot of those as time went on. That was your business model. You made great cigars. And one of the things I recall is when I walked through your factory, and that was, again, the first one I ever went to. So there were things I saw there that I don't always see in every factory, but
Okay.
Obviously you draw test every cigar. You showed me the draw test machine. You were proud of this thing. This how this thing works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm an engineer. I said, this is like the coolest thing in the world. I can get one of these. But you also did something that I don't often see, or maybe they don't always show me. You freeze your cigars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Make sure that any beetles or eggs or anything are killed. And oh, by the way, this cigar again is 4+ years old. Been sitting in my humidor, and actually the box I have is not the best controlled box. Okay, I have some in my regular cabinet, but I keep these here, and never had a problem. No issues all these years. So.
Thank you, Jim. You know what? For folks out there to know, a lot of factories, and I'm not knocking them. I mean, we have the ability to have the freezer, and I guess in our case, the amount of product that we move out of the factory lends itself to the capacity we have within that freezer. So if you fumigate it, the bug is dead, and you can fumigate it, you tarp it, and you kill that bug, but the egg is still there. And given the incorrect conditions, it will hatch and the little beetle will come out. What the freezing process does is it kills the egg. So even if you get terrible conditions, the cigars may crack, they may dry, no beetle will come out. And that's the difference. But the freezing process takes 3 days to freeze, 3 days to turn off the freezer, and essentially the temperature comes down because obviously condensation will screw it all up if you take it right out. So you're losing a week before you're able then to ship these things out. And if you're questioning when do you do it, you can do them once they're boxed, they're ready to go. You've been fumigating all this time, then you stick them in that freezer, and then you're ready to ship out. So the cartons themselves are set and ready to go, but you can only fit so many in a 20 by 20 freezer. You saw the freezer, right? So if you are not equipped to do that, maybe you need 2 or 3 or 4 freezers or larger freezers or whatever. And you've also been to my factory. We're going vertical, right? We have no more room horizontal. It's 20,000 square feet.
I was going to get into that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and there's no damn room. So it takes up space. So, but it is the most efficient way to eliminate that beetle through and through.
Now that process, is that a family process that got sent down? How did you come to learn that's the way to do it?
You know what? I've got to ask my dad for specifics on this because it's his baby. But one of the things that we do have in the DR, as a matter of fact, right now, one of the new things we have, if you'd go visit us, is we have an oven of sorts, and it's like a bain marie. What it does is it steams wrapper, and it ensures that the darker wrappers, through steam, all come out equally as dark. Right? And my dad got that. We were visiting the Olivas, the Tampa Olivas in Nicaragua, my dad and I buying tobacco a few years ago. Now, they are a much larger operation, and they had 6 of these things. So we asked about it. We came over here, General Cigar, which is close to where our factory is, and another duty-free zone also has it. The point I'm making, when we are, as an industry, if you have your factory and I ask you, what are you doing about these beetles? You have no problem telling me, hey, guess what? Freeze them. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Freeze them. So I go to see what you've got. So how did you find out? And that's pretty much the way we found out. It was word of mouth. It was competitors, if you want to call them that, helping each other. So I know that's the way my dad found out. And then we built it out. I remember that building it out, he got the guy that built it out from, and I don't remember the factory right now, from someone over there in Dominican. I don't know if it was Fuentes, someone who's doing it as well, who sent him the individual and says, call these guys. They're gonna, much as like I would call you, have a plumber you can help me out with, right? Do you have a roofer, or do you have someone that lays tile? Same kind of thing. And that's the way it was done. It wasn't a family thing. I can't take credit for it, but the only ones that do it. It was word of mouth, but it was an industry helping an industry. It was very cool if you think about it. You know, even with the Bain Marie machine that we have now, again, what was it? It was each other helping each other out, knowing that you're going to put out a better product and you're going to compete against me, but out of the love of the industry, I'm going to help you out. You know what I mean?
But that's what this industry, that's the beauty of the industry. I mean, across the board, you know, people that aren't helping each other, they don't get it. It's just, we want to make sure that customers enjoy what they have, enjoy the information that they get. I mean, that's what it is. It's all about that. So you go and you have this, for generations, you're doing all these cigars, and you have this brainstorm when you realize that, I guess, the FDA, there's going to be some clamps down. There's a good possibility that some of these small brands you have may go away. Riot went away. Others might have gone away. And you made a decision. You made an executive decision as a team, I guess, to create your own cigars. What percentage now of Casa Cuevas is Casa Cuevas cigars versus other cigars?
Manufactured at the factory, you mean?
Yeah, at your factory. I mean, if you break down, you've got brands that you make and then yours. What would you consider the percentage?
You know what? I know they ran into trouble recently, and perhaps rightly so, but they've righted that ship. We make a lot of the Cellar Reserves for Gurkha, the 125th anniversaries for Gurkha, a lot of their higher end stuff, and they still sell a lot more cigars than I sell as a brand. So they're still number one in terms of what we manufacture. In our case, I'm happy to say, and I'm proud to say, that we are now number two within my factory in terms of my production.
Okay.
So listen, I'm not saying I'm catching up to a brand that's been around for decades, right? But you know, we're moving in the right direction.
So you're getting into that, you know,
we're getting, well, hell, you know, I'm on your show. How you know that? How cool is that, right? How cool is that? So yeah, that says a lot to me. To me personally, it doesn't mean a damn thing to you, but it means a lot to me that you would actually consider me to be on a Saturday night spending time with you and your viewers. So that says a lot, and I mean that sincerely. You know I do. You and I have talked a lot. When you went to visit me at the IPCPR, you took time to step into my booth and take some time to meet your lovely wife, and we talked for a while. And I know we've been friends, but still, you're running a business, man. So thank you.
You've got a great story because you've now moved into this world of making your own cigars, and they're obviously starting to take off because you could go to your map on your website and they're in a lot of shops now.
They are, and that map, I gotta say, that's the one thing as a businessman that I failed on, because we have grown much more than what the map actually indicates. I'm not that techie, so I don't know how to fix and expand that. So as we speak, I'm looking for someone to help me out.
My wife.
Really? Okay.
I'll give you a number later. And she does that. She builds websites.
We'll do that. I have no problem. Paying someone for that service, because I'm just I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Getting on Zoom today, you were texting me going, "Hey, dude, I'm on." I'm like, "I'm trying." I had to call my kid to come in. And my wife is super techie, but she was inside with dinner, so I was like, okay, what do I do? So yeah, we've grown. By the same token, I think the third largest, and it's a small company, and I want you guys to check it out. Vicarious also does Invictus cigars. Can you?
Yeah, I just reviewed their Negotiator.
Yeah,
that's a pretty damn nice little cigar.
Do you know the story behind it?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
it's a cool story. Yeah, that's a really cool little box press, and so they've been around for like 6 years. They just haven't really taken off. But you know what, Jim? One of the things that the FDA really hurt was the dreamers that came through, the Ryans of the world.
Yeah.
And they wanted to take a shot. And Now no one's coming through that door saying, hey, I've got a dream of creating a brand new cigar, a new blend, because they're afraid. I don't know if I spend all this money, forget the cigar. It's the packaging. It's the branding of it all. It's the advertising. It's am I at the IPCPR, all that other stuff, right? Because these people obviously have the money to sit there and make their own blend, and I can make cigars for them and send them 10,000 cigars at whatever cost it may be. But they're afraid to jump into those waters, and that has really dried up that well. And no one talks about the effect that has had on factories throughout.
Right.
You know, a factory like mine, every year we would have maybe 5 to 10 individuals who would walk in that door and really try to make their dream come true. So capitalism at its best, right? They'd buy cigars from me. They'd buy the bands from someone else. They'd buy the boxes from someone else, and they try their hardest to get it out there. Well, the band maker's not making any money. The box maker's not making any more money. And I'm not producing those cigars. By the way, the guy that's selling me the tobacco is not making any money. We can trickle it all the way down. So it's a shame that the effect that that's had, and that's really, really dried out. So a lot of the big boys or the people who really, really deep pockets are trying hard right now. But it's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. And in the end, listen, it's a leaf with some leaves inside with another leaf wrapped around it that's really pretty. And I mean, come on, right? So does it make a difference it was made in 1995 as opposed to 2018? The answer is no. It's the same. It's the damn same.
So we got a question coming in from Tom Privatera. Tom asks, please tell the story about La Madeira.
Oh, wow. Hey, Tom. I don't know you, but it's interesting you asked that question at this point, right? I thought everybody had heard it. I'm sure you've heard about it. So a year and a half ago at this point, we had purchased a warehouse. And by the way, I have a special guest I'm going to introduce in a second. A year and a half ago, we had a warehouse we just purchased. And we stocked it up. This was November or so. And so by January, we're fixing it up. We're already in. And it's your typical warehouse. So the humidor itself is juxtaposed up against the back wall. You got a bay door, you got a front door, and you got a back door in an alleyway. And if you leave the humidor in the middle of the premises, it kills its space. You got to put it up against the back wall. It makes sense. That's what we did. In any event, geez, about 3 or 4 weeks into us being completely stocked, these guys break in through the back wall using a sledgehammer, which is mandaria means sledgehammer in Spanish, right? And so they break in through the back wall, cut into the humidor, and wipe me out completely. They took everything. And what they did was they operated within the confines of the humidor, never opened up the principal door, never got out into the – so none of the stuff triggered. The alarms didn't go off. I had nothing within – I thought in my naive state of mind, how the hell could you get to the damn humidor if you didn't go in through the bay door, the front door, the back door, the roof? You had to go through somewhere. No, they went in through the back with a sledgehammer, cut in through the humidor, and wiped me out. So my son, as we're sitting there licking our wounds, says, you know, if we're going to try to make light of this somehow and turn these lemons into lemonade, as the overused saying goes, let's make a pun on it and let's call the cigar the sledgehammer. And in Spanish is la mandaria, and boom, it was born. And that's what I'm smoking now. And it's been a godsend. It would have never been born but for that adversity. So pretty cool. Pretty cool that it worked out.
So another question came in from Barry Bones Argento. So Barry, going back to the refrigerator question, he says, can you go from the freezer to the fridge if you can't turn off the freezer?
Wow, that's an interesting question. The problem is that the freezer to the fridge, if you take, let's say, and I don't know the answer to this, but thinking just scientifically, right? You take an ice cube from the freezer, you put it in the fridge, condensation, I think, is still going to take place at a more rapid rate than it would within that freezer as that temperature begins to drop. So I think there may be some harm that would come to it along the way. If you're talking about just your everyday cigars, then if he's doing that to kill bugs, let's say, which is what I always recommend to friends of mine that have an issue with the bugs, then yeah, give it a shot, you know. But I'll tell you what, if you're going to put it in that fridge, make sure that cigar is as completely insulated as possible, because these things are sponges. If you got a can of tuna in there, you will be smoking tuna. If you've got whatever kind of food, yeah, I'm serious. You know this, right? They are sponges. Whatever flavors are emanating from that refrigerator of yours, if this thing is not completely insulated, it will taste like that. And that's the only fear. But if you're talking about just transferring your cigars from the freezer to the fridge instead of leaving them outside, I think that would be most advisable as opposed to just taking them from the freezer, putting them out in your humidor and letting that condensation kind of drip through. Maybe that's not the best idea. So I think that's what he's asking. So yeah, that's the way I would do it. But protect them always from whatever odors are in your fridge. 100%. That's why you never put flavored cigars if you're smoking, let's say, acids.
No, you never put an acid.
Oh, man, hell no. Hell no. Hell no. No, everything's an acid then, you know? So
yeah, I had a small another humidor that I put some cigars in, and it's like a 3-layer little humidor, and the top shelf, I forgot I had stuff on the bottom, and I put in some of the Nick Maleo, what's it? Trying to draw the name. It's that really fragrant cigar that he has. The Upsetters.
The Upsetters. But by the way, yes, I want to say, come here. This guy's gonna say hi right here. You're there. He's chiming in. Okay. All right. No worries. Take a look at your comment section. I got a special guest sitting in front of me right now, and actually a great friend of mine, notwithstanding the industry.
So ask Luis who he loves hanging out with.
That's Luis who he loves hanging out with.
Jack Tarano.
You got Jack hanging around. You got big Jack hanging around.
There he is.
Jack, what's up?
What's up, Jimmy?
How
you doing, good to see you.
Always
good to see you.
Good.
Keep fighting that fight on Facebook, man.
Yo, I'll do whatever I do.
It's very entertaining.
So what was the? I asked this because everybody wants to know this one answer all the time. What was the first cigar you ever smoked?
You know what? Interesting. I've been asked this a couple of times now, and I don't mind the question because the answer is kind of silly, right? I think. So here I am in my early teens, and I'm at the factory, my dad and my uncle's factory. Didn't smoke a single stick, nothing. I was working with tobacco, moving bales, trying to learn how to roll. Wasn't smoking anything. And then when the boom was going on, wasn't smoking anything. And then my friends started smoking cigars, and I go, oh, man, my dad has a factory. So what do? I go and I buy a Macanudo. That was my first cigar. I went to a local shop, and that's what the guy recommended, Connecticut Macanudo. So that was my very first cigar. It wasn't any of my stuff. It was a flipping Jamaican cigar. So there we go. There you go.
They were very, very popular.
The irony is rich. The irony is really thick here, right? I could have asked my dad for some cigars. And back then there was no S-chip cost. I would have gotten them, completely gratis, everything, all, a Macanudo. So there you go. Wah, 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 wah.
So in the line now of Casa Cuevas, and you've filled out a portfolio very nicely.
Thank you.
Nice cross blends and just different profiles. What is your pride and joy in that?
Wow, I'll tell you what. That's the Connecticut. The Connecticut from our Reserva line, I think is a phenomenal cigar. It's your typical Connecticut, and by a mile. The flacos that we did, the limited 7x43s that were stolen and completely that was destroyed. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that they're gone. But I remember that box, the presentation, the cigar itself, I thought was really, really cool.
Oh, you don't have any more of those? They're not.
No, they're gone. They're gone. My friend, I've got some bundles. I've got maybe 50 or 75 of them left but not in boxes. The boxes are all gone. Every single box is sold.
You're not making those anymore?
No. And you know, I had promised that we were going to stick to our guns when we made this limited edition. The boxes are numbered, if you remember, 1 to 500, in the Maduro and the Habano. And when we were robbed, the biggest blow to us was the fact that they were gone, and I had no idea which numbers were gone. They came out of sequence from the factory. So if you had bought box 73, in all fairness to you, how can I make another 73? You bought 73, right? And the box is so beautiful, and here you are. Maybe you're storing it, maybe you threw it away, but what if you had it? So, you know, we couldn't replicate those. And that's part of why the Mandaria was born. In part, it was a limited run to recoup the money's lost on that I couldn't make back. I could make back on the core line, make more, sell more, but I couldn't make those back ever. So no. And I've been asked time and again if I ever will come out with those again. I don't know. I maybe. But anyway, right now, no. The answer is they are no more. You know, for friends like you, yeah, I can always make some at the factory, you know, stuff like that. But in terms of the boxes themselves and whatnot, they are gone. They are like a dodo bird. They are extinct. So those two, and interestingly enough, La Mandaria, because here we are with, you know, a challenge. What do we do? How do we get out of this? Let's try to make something good out of something terrible. And it turned into a regular run. And it just the fact that it evolved sort of organically, spontaneously, right? Like an epiphany. Well, pretty damn cool that you come out with stuff without overthinking it, because all of it from the details on the box to the brand name, even the blending. I remember I flew down with my son and we were there. My nephew flew down. We had never been to a factory either. And within a week, we had come out with this. I mean, kind of cool. The way it all just fit together. And so here it is now part of the core line, and it's one of our best sellers. So I know you asked me for one. I gave you 3. I apologize.
In your that's okay. In your factory, who's the master blender?
My dad's the one that knows the flavors best, and I would expect that, right? It's a lifetime of doing it, literally a lifetime of doing it. My dad's first cigar were cigars rolled by my grandmother when they were in elementary school. He was born in 38, different times. She was rolling the little cigarillos for he and the 4 brothers. So there's 5 brothers, and they were all in elementary school. And yeah, it was really, really cool. So he started smoking really, really young. So yeah, I mean, I'll go into the factory and he'll say, listen, we're trying this new tobacco. We have this new tobacco. Well, let's try this, let's try that. Or I'll go, hey, Pops, you know, I want to aim for this particular flavor. And you'll go, this has spice, this has the other. You should try this. You should try this. Even stuff like a wrapper or a binder or whatever. So it's always my dad. It's my dad. We may have ultimate say and say, Pops, you're blending to your palate, not to what the masses may want. But in terms of flavor profiles, he's the guy. And you met him.
Yeah.
You met him.
So when you're blending, does your dad just know the leaf, or does he smoke that leaf itself?
He smokes a lot of times just the leaf itself if he's not sure about what it's going to be or what it's going to taste like. And even crops. He'll light up specific leaves all by themselves, and he'll smoke them. He'll smoke them. We're talking into the lungs, through the nose, like a cigarette, which I don't do. I don't pretend to do. I don't want to do. But yeah.
So when you get,
he's not the only one that does that. I'm not. My dad's not the only guy, right?
When you get those bales that you buy, you source tobacco, you bring it in. He'll cut a bale open, he'll roll it, taste it. Now, does he mark on that bale his flavor notes?
No, that's a good question. No. When we go look for the bales, he'll know, and we go to shop for them. We'll pick them out bale by bale. The way it's done is, if you're wondering, you have, let's say, thousands of bales of whatever. So they'll start opening, and you go bale by bale by bale, and you mark them, and you say, okay, ship them to me next week or tomorrow, or whatever it may be. And they're already marked with an X or an LC and or initials or something, a star, whatever they want to put on them. And then you get those bales, and then the cigars begin to be produced. But before that happened, if it's a brand new tobacco, we'll get a hand, literally, a set of leaves that gets sent to us, and then we'll go, okay, this would work nicely with this. a lot of the blending actually occurs constantly, even if you have an existing blend, because crops change.
Sure.
So I may be using a certain percentage of Nicaraguan from Jalapa to make X cigar. And the crop that we get this year is not quite as potent as it was 2 years ago. So what do you do now? Well, let's kind of shop around from some Pennsylvania that may make up the difference. And the blending process never ends, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you keep it consistent? Because you get companies like, you take like a Fuente, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could pick up a Fuente short story today,
Mm-hmm.
and that cigar tastes just like that short story tasted 20 years ago. All right. I mean, it still has that same basic characteristics running through it. And it's different crops, different years, some years better, some years not, but yet they're still able to have some consistency in how that blend tastes.
Which says a lot about them and what the reason why they're still around and doing so darn well. And they're a staple in the industry. Padron, the same thing. I mean, you can go on and on. There's a lot of companies that you're going to pick up the cigar and you know what you're going to get every time. Now, I would argue that what you said, right? A nuanced smoker like yourself are going to catch that it's a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different, but still the consistency is there. And that's hats off to them. Hats off to all the manufacturers out there that do that. I've said this time and again on talking to my friends. I do it all the time. You know, wine gets a pass on vintages and we don't, and there's not much difference, my friends. You know, so you're drinking your 2008 cab, whatever it may be, from California. It's phenomenal vintage. Oh my gosh. And then you grab the 2012 and you go, the 2008 was amazing. This is still good, but 2008, but you still drink it and you forgive it. But the consumer wants that same cigar to always taste the same. And we never get a pass on that. And, you know, it is what it is.
Well, when you get some of the really geeky boutique brands, right? They'll come out with their vintages, right? Same cigar, 2012. Well, you take somebody, you take somebody like George Rico, right?
Yeah.
Right? He comes out with every year his vintage cigar, right? And this year, I think it was the 7-year age tobacco. Right. Mm-hmm. This year was 2012 vintage, the 2019 release, right? And then the next one I'll have a 2013, but that cigar tries to be that Corojo number 3 tries to be the same, but they are different. It's fun to smoke one that was from another vintage. There is nuances that you can pick up.
Yeah, and that's smart. And that's smart. And George is very good at what he does. And those cigars are very good as well. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I remember years ago when we were making the Dunhills, and I wasn't involved the way I am now. I was simply the son of the cigar maker at that time, my dad. And it was a corroboration between Carlos Rano Sr. and my dad and my uncle. So we're making the Dunhills, and what they were partly doing was doing that. And they were having the rollers sign each individual box and whatnot and send them out. And that didn't really work. It was extra cost on the Dunhill company because there's more cost incurred with that, but it never made a difference in sales in terms of it working out. And I don't know if they marketed it differently or poorly or whatever it may be, but it just didn't. In the end, the consumer wants what he wants, and they want that consistency, and they're not really caring about my story, what I'm telling you right now, that crops change and, you know, there's drought and there's too much rain and there's mold and there's scarcity and on and on. They just don't care. And I get it because you're taking a $10 bill effectively and you're lighting it on fire. And guess what? You worked hard for that $10 bill. You worked hard for that $10 bill. So, hell, why am I going to light on? No, it's not as good as the one next to it, which is a new brand. And I'm going to try that one. That's going to be my new favorite. And I respect that because I'm a consumer, right? In the end, I'm a consumer. So, yeah, it's tough.
So with thinking about new, you working on anything new?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, PCA got crushed.
Right.
And you know, aside from that, because of the things leading up to PCA, the shutdown and whatnot, our factory right now is running at 30-40% capacity. I didn't come out with anything new, but the new projects were, we were going to do, and we're still going to do, hopefully if January TPE goes through, launching a Mandaria with a Matafina wrapper. And we had already worked on that blend. It would be the only cigar in the factory, my factory, that uses Matafina. And I've always been just a fan of it. So I was excited about that project, and I am still. So that would be. And then in the Reserva line is a grandfathered product, certain sizes that were made way back when. It was my family's first attempt, actually, at coming out with a brand, and that lasted all of a second. Yeah, well, you know, it's tough to it's easier to make the cigars than to sell the cigars. In any event, one of the sizes there is a 7x43. And that's an existing grandfathered product. So we were doing a line extension using that 7x43 Flaco, but different blend, different presentation, obviously. So those are the two things. That one I may or may not follow through with, but the Mandaria with the Matafina, 100% for sure. If, Lord willing, in January, we'll be out with that. I've already asked Humberto Arias from Cigar Package Design, phenomenal young man who does all our marketing, and packaging, and branding, to start working on that, and we'll see. I'm excited about it. The test run has already been smoked prior to COVID. We haven't made any since then, but it was a home run here between my friends and my family.
We're crushing the coronavirus in Brazil. Idol.
You love that sledgehammer motif.
I love the sledgehammer.
I know you.
Larry Adams asked the question. He says, does the Connecticut come in a Churchill size?
It will in the Reserva. Will in the Reserva. In our regular line, I didn't. And what I did with our regular line, to answer his question, when I launched it, I launched our core line, a Robusto, a Toro, and a 6x60, because those were the top 3 selling sizes in the United States of America. So that's what I did. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I looked at what cigars are sold, sizes, and that's what I did. I didn't come out with a Churchill. Can I? Yeah. But if the Reserva already has it as part of the existing, product that we can draw from, then it will be. And it will be, let me back that up a second. It will be launched, but to answer his question, I did launch a 7x48 box press, which was essentially and that's part of the core line, which is essentially a Churchill, a traditional Churchill. The Cuban Churchills are not a 50, that's a Presidente or whatnot.
You did a box press Churchill.
Yeah. And the reason I made it box press rather than the regular, when you look at it, if I have a 50 gauge and I have a 48 gauge, visually, they're almost identical. It's 1/32 of an inch diameter difference, right, between the two, literally. So how do you make it different? We box pressed it, and those have done really well.
So you like box press cigars?
I like the way they sit between my teeth. I like that.
Do they do anything special to the cigar? I ask this sometimes, but
no, and they're really tough to make, and they're really they're hard to make because they're hard to roll. Because you start with a round object, and essentially you squish it down into submission.
So you got to put less fill in. You got
so you have to use less fill, but you still got to get that flavor profile there.
Right.
So what do you take out? What do you leave in? Right. Number one. Number two, to get it pressed to that, we're talking months of waiting. Right. With just these things kind of sitting there with cinder blocks essentially atop them. So the process is longer. It's more elaborate. Flavor-wise, I don't think it does anything to me. I'm not that. I wish I was that guy that picked up a lot of these notes and stuff. I'm trying hard, but I don't admit to that. I'm not that guy. I wish I was.
I don't see the difference in the box press flavor.
I don't either, my friend. I don't, but I do like the way they sit between my teeth because I'm a chewer.
They don't roll off your desk.
This is true. They don't.
Yeah.
This is true.
If you were to, other than your brand now, you were to go into a shop, smoke
Okay.
something other than what you sell, what would your go-to cigar be?
That's a good question. I get asked that every once in a while. I'll tell you what. There's a couple of brands. There's a couple of staples, and then not because he's here and he can't hear me right now. They're way over there right now. But I'm friends with Eric Espinosa, and I have access to a lot of Espinosas. Jack brought a ton of them right now with him. Every time we get together, he has them. And I fall in love with that brand quite a bit. Not all of them, and Eric, I don't think will be offended by that. But there's quite a few that I really go to. And if I go to a shop, I'll smoke them. If I go to a shop and they're just carrying the big boys, Padron is always something that I know is going to be consistent as hell.
26 and 64.
The 64. If I had a good heavy steak dinner, that's what I go to. The 26 I don't like, just too much. But the 64 I enjoy. For a long time, Olivas, the Milanio I enjoyed very much.
I still do.
What else can I say that's a really big go-to? Well, we make it, but certainly the Connecticut from Vicarious in the morning with coffee, I enjoy very, very much. I think it's just a great Connecticut cigar. There's no bitterness to it. It's just really well balanced. So there's a few. Roel McCraft makes great cigars. I like Skip Martin a lot. I like his product. The guy that runs his factory is a friend. He was a very young man under my dad and my uncle as a boy. So there's that connection. It's a very small industry, right? So,
yeah,
I see a Roel McCraft cigar and I'll pick it up because I like Skip and I like the cigars. And so I want to give him in some way some love by picking up the cigar. Same with Eric. I don't know the Olivas, but I like the cigars. I don't know the Padrones, but I like their cigars. So I think I answered your question, right, more or less. I smoke other stuff. I make it a point to always say that my aim has always been and continues to be part of your humidor, to be part of your viewers' humidor, not to be the only cigar they smoke. If they're doing that, they're missing the whole point of this. I don't drink the same scotch only. I don't drink the same wine only. I don't drink the same beer only. I love my IPAs. I drink several IPAs. I love my wines. I drink several red wines and so forth, right? So why would I smoke only one cigar? That's stupid. Oh, sorry. I just don't do it. I don't know if it's stupid, but I think it's not the way to go.
Now, when you look back on your factory and your time at the factory, working on the boutique, the smaller brands, number of these probably are no longer existent. Other than our friend Lil Ryan Gallimore, who do you miss that's not on the scene today?
That's not on the scene today, right? So I thought Sam really gave a lot to the industry. I think he had a terrific palate. He was passionate. He knew his tobacco. I miss that. There's a very young man out of Illinois. He does bow tie cigars, very, very boutique, tiny. Right. Billy King.
Oh,
and if Billy's an engineer by trade and he follows his trade to the point where he doesn't have a whole lot of time to do this kind of stuff. But I think if Billy would pursue it with, if he won the lotto and then went at it 100%, he'd do very well. He's got a great palate. He's passionate. Let me see. The guy did La Perla Habana initially, Doug Wood. When Doug was there, that was a really, really cool thing. He's no longer, he sold the brand to CI and God bless him, right? But that was really neat to get to meet somebody like that. And I think he had a passion for it. And I saw him as a businessman working. We were in San Antonio, Texas for the IPCPR a million years ago. You've been around for a while. You know this show. And the way he marketed it and everything else, he was so sure of himself. And that was really cool. So guys like that, I think I miss because they were so serious. They had their head on their shoulders. They knew what they were going. It wasn't some guy that quit his day job and goes, I'm going to make, $1 million tomorrow. And they knew what lay ahead. So, yeah.
Very good. All right, so this is the point in the show where I'm going to switch briefly. I'm going to go into kind of what's recent and new on Stogie Press this past. We didn't have a show last week because it got canceled. So some of the articles that we come through, I'm going to run through those, and then we'll come back and talk briefly about what swag gifts, what we're doing on next week.
You got it. You
so
got
let
it.
me just share my my other screen here. Weeks back. We reviewed the Maya Selva Zamorano. We gave that a 92. This is a very interesting cigar. Comes in this really cool package here. You can get a sample pack here of these, and they look like soda cans or beer cans. So very cool. We did that was a very nice cigar. Obviously, we talked earlier about the Vicarious and Negotiator. We gave this one a 91. This is a really nice box press short smoke. Great story behind it, as Luis was saying. The Romeo and Julieta Real Nicaragua Toro 93. This is a fabulous cigar. From a big box brand. I know a lot of people think Stogie Press does only boutique, but we do these others. And I really enjoyed this cigar. Smoked 2 of these for that review, and that was just a really, really fine cigar. Very smooth, delicious flavors all the way through. Fratello announced that they're expanding into the European market, continuing that footprint. So they've just moved into Spain. So as most people that are following cigar news and the industry, while we're fighting the FDA, the European palate has been opening up to a lot of what we like. They've moved a lot. They're moving further away from just all Cubans, and they're getting more into Dominican, especially Nicaraguan blends. So they're following what we do. They watch things like Stogie Press, Cigar Coop, and others, and look at the reviews, and they're really intrigued by what these cigars have to offer. So that market's open, continuing to open up. Crown Heads announced that they're releasing their Casa de Monte Cristo 4 Kicks #7 exclusive. So if you like the 4 Kicks, this is their exclusive cigar that they're coming out with. These are going to be in all the Monte Cristo lounges around the country. Southern Draw announced that they are canceling all in-person event participation. Obviously, with the pandemic and the coronavirus, they've decided that it's best to just do Zoom meetings and discussions like we're having now to continue to promote what they have and what's new and what they're doing. Actually, I was on a call with Robert Holt the other week, and he's hunkered down with his wife Sharon in Arkansas in a RV park. So he's having fun there for the last couple of months, he said. And he's running the whole business right now out of an RV, and it's working. So that's pretty cool. We did 2 weeks ago, we did Take It to the Nub with Eddie Tarazona from Tres Cero Cinco Cigars, otherwise known as Tarazona Cigars or 305 Cigars. That is now out on Stogie Press on the YouTube channel. So you can always go there and check that if you haven't seen that show. Dapper Cigars, I did a review of their Siempre Sun-Grown Gordo. Gave that an 88. It had some burn issues and stuff that associated with this, and I think there was a little bit of harshness, but it's not a bad cigar. This cigar blew my mind. So this is the AJ Fernandez King is Dead Nicaragua, the Super Toro. So if you like the Caldwell King is Dead, the original King is Dead, this is the Nicaragua variety. It's Nicaraguan Puro. This was absolutely outstanding. I really enjoyed this cigar tremendously. Yesterday, what I'm doing is I'm creating a new series on Stogie Press. I've gone through. I realized when I was getting ready for this show, Louis, I said, man, I've known you for 4 years. Stogie Press has been around for about 6 years this July, and I have all this content. And I was like, I started going through it, and I was like, I really need. People ask me, say, what do you think are the best Nicaraguans? What do you think is the best? So I'm creating a series, and I started it with Nicaraguans. I went through, I said, here are the must-try Nicaraguan cigars, the ones that I really liked, going all the way back to 2014. Excuse some of the articles because some of the photos weren't done very professionally when I started. And some of the writing style has changed and the format of doing the reviews have changed. It's fun to see that evolvement also for myself. But anyway, so this is the Nicaraguan series. We're going to do a Dominican series. We'll do a Honduran series. We're going to do like a wheelhouse, you know, right in the wheelhouse price point series. So we're going to go through and create a number of series of articles where people can really see what, you know, well, this is my palate, you know, this is what I like. And,
neat. I like that.
and then today I just finished reviewing the new Trinidad Espirito Series 1 Toro, another Altadis blend. And we gave that one a 90. It actually had a little bit of an off burn and stuff, but flavor-wise, it wasn't overly complex. I'd say it was kind of in a medium body cigar. It was a pleasurable cigar. It's a cigar you could probably smoke any time of the day, you know, morning, evening, night, doesn't matter. It's just a decent cigar. So those are the that's the news and reviews on Stogie Press this week. Let's come back to Luis. So I'd like to close it out with, all right, so as you know, I'm going to be throwing up some of these beautiful
Awesome.
cigar. By the way, look at this. Look at this. It's still burning beautifully. I've enjoyed this cigar since the day it was made. It's mellowed down. I mean, it doesn't have that same hearty spice that it did originally. It's definitely mellowed.
Oh, cool.
But it's a really fabulous blend. I'm enjoying this immensely. So I'm going to throw some of these into a raffle. We are definitely throwing in some whiff out as part of a raffle. And Louis, you had some things you were going to toss in.
I did. We're going to toss out 3 of these shirts, the Casa Cuevas shirts. Very comfortable shirts, and I'm happy to give them. And I'm also going to toss a box of the Casa Cuevas Maduro Robusto.
Nice.
Which is a phenomenal smoke. San Andres wrapper. And within it, if you look at San Andres from Mexico, you've got Pennsylvania tobacco in there, Dominican, Colombian, Nicaraguan. So you got 5 countries, 1 cigar, and it's just a phenomenal smoke. So whoever wins this, I hope they enjoy it, and I hope they get back to me and say, hey, you know, give me your thoughts. You know, if you liked it, didn't like it, I want to know. I want to know. So 3 shirts in 1 box.
All right. So we'll be for sure doing that. So again, if you like this show and you want to see some of the past ones, they are on the Stogie Press YouTube channel. All of these shows get archived there for your viewing pleasure. Everybody that's commented, and this stays up on Facebook forever, I guess, but for the next week, anybody who watches this and comments on it, likes, loves, whatever, I take all those names, I put them into a little random spinning wheel app, and we'll run that raffle next Saturday around 1 o'clock right after the KMA radio show. So I don't want to step on it. So once his show's over, we always do the raffle, and somebody's going to win some stuff, and it's going to be fabulous.
Awesome.
So thank you very much. I hope we covered some things that weren't covered in other shows.
Always. Every time you and I get together and you talk, even when you, as I said, that you took the time generously to talk to me last year at the IPCPR, it's always a genuine, interesting conversation. You're really good at what you do. You care a lot about the industry, and it shows. So
thank you.
And as a dad, congratulations, because you've done a phenomenal job with your kids. So I'm well aware of how successful they are, and so, you know, God bless you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you everybody for watching. This is Boston Jimmie with Stogie Press, taking it to the nub. Episode number 16.
Wow.
Casa
cool.
Cuevas.
All right,
Louis,
everyone.
thank you.
Jimmie, thank you.
Tell
you.
Jack he could have stayed on the camera, but he's probably stuffing his face. Is he eating? Is Jack eating over there?
No. He's way over there, and they're having a smoke, and he's having a beer right now. So, so they're good.
Fair enough.
All right, my friend.
All right. Tell him I got to get Espinosa on next.